Okay, so let's begin with the sketch. So these are two geese, and then there's a nice little corner of rocks over here. The challenging part of today's art will be this water. So as you can see on the side, I've tried different techniques here. I think we're gonna go with this one, but don't worry about that yet. Let's just do the sketch. So I'm going to start with this goose over here. It's about 1/3 down the page. So I'm going to put it about near the bottom right corner in this area. So the bird is quite round, but its tail is very sharp. Let me move it up so you can see it better. Once again, just the rough shape of it. This picture is a little blurry because I increased the size. But that helps us actually because we don't focus too much on the details. I'm actually going to make the head lower. I think I made it too tall because if you look at the picture, the head is not that long. The neck and the height of the body is about the same. So this is the height of the body, the neck, and that's where I'm going to put the head. And the angle of this goose is quite tilted downward. So I'm going to add a little bit of that at the bottom. And then I'll also sketch in the line, the ridge on its back. And today we're going to do something a little bit different. So with your pencil, you can also try shading the bird. So over here, there's a huge shadow. Usually I don't shade because I feel the color will get really muddy and gray. But because the color of the shadow is very gray, it's okay to shade using pencil today. This will also help with when we add the oil pastel. I'm also going to shade in the black on the goose. Because it is so dark, we should probably shade it anyways. So the neck, and then this is its cheek, this white part. And then everything else is black. Okay, and then once you're done the first one, I'm going to move on to the second bird. You can basically copy and paste what you drew here over here, but a little bit smaller. But there are some differences. For example, the head is tilted differently. So this one's looking that way a little bit, and this one's more facing us, like this way. But the shape remains the same. It's just a little bit smaller. So compared to that, it's about a slight angle above it, above the first bird. This one's about this tall. I'm going to shrink my finger a little bit. And then that's the top of my bird. So I like to use my fingers to compare. Okay, and how wide? Just a little bit shorter than that. So these 4 dots that I just put down, these are my landmarks. So the very far corners of the body of the bird. This will help me make the shape a bit more proportionate. And then shade in the shadow as well. The next step is to sketch the rocks. This doesn't have to be too accurate, but the bigger shapes are what's important. So I'm going to do this rock first, or the ones in the front, so over here, and then move my way back. Actually, I'm going to outline the top edge of the rocks so I know how much distance is between the rock and the geese. So starting here, I'm going to trace the general shape of the rocks. Okay, and then now I'm going to just add a few rocks here and there and make sure to make some of the rocks round and then some other ones a little bit more square. So it's more interesting. And same with the rocks. We're going to shade the rocks today. So use your pencil and add a little bit of shadows, especially in these nooks, I call them, or the corners on the inside. They're very dark. Okay, the sketch is now done. Let's move into the oil pastels. So make sure you have your colors ready. I'm going to put the pencil aside. We're going to start with the geese. So that means we're probably going to use some brown, some peach, where you see this little bit of yellowish in the highlight, black, gray, and a little bit of blue. So brown, black, gray, blue, and peach. Okay, let's use the first color. I'm going to use brown, and the brown goes anywhere that is really, really dark. So over here in the feathers. Oops. Yeah, so for mostly the body, just lightly add some color right on top of the sketch. And when you get to the edge, try to be really precise, but it's okay if it smudges a little bit. And then I'm going to use the same color on the other side. So this is just brown. This one has a little bit of that white fur or the feathers peeking from underneath, if you can see this white. I'm trying to leave a little bit of that. And then I'm going to try blending, or you see it's a little hard to see. If I can zoom in. For example, on this goose, you can see that there's the patterns of the feathers. It kind of goes, it looks like a leaf. The ones on the bottom go down like this, and then the one on the top goes like that. So with the gray crayon, we're going to try and make those patterns appear. Okay, well, you can't really see it, but basically what I'm doing is, you can see that, following the direction of the feathers that I saw in the photo, just adding some texture to the brown. If not,
Teacher, I
yes,
don't have a gray color.
no gray color. Okay, that's okay. You can use white
Okay.
and also a little bit of black, but be careful with the black. So if you don't have gray, the black is really strong. So just shade it like you use a pencil. And then on top of that, add the white.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Good question. Yeah, I forgot. Sometimes people don't have different colors. If you don't have a gray, you can also try blending using the peach.
Oh, peach.
because the gray and the peach, the value, so how dark it is the same,
Okay.
even though they're different colors. You can try it. So now I've given up on the patterns. I don't think it turns out very well because my paper is very small. So I'm just going to blend using the gray. So forget about the pattern for now. Just use the gray to smooth out the holes, the white spaces in the paper. Okay, it looks a little bit weird right now because it's one flat color. It looks a little pale. But I want to zoom in on this goose. The bottom of the body over here, it's hard to see, but it's actually it's brighter than up here because the light in the water is bouncing up. It's reflecting off the water. So the bottom of this bird is brighter. The top has a darker shadow. So you can take the brown and then go over the top of the shadow to make the top of the shadow darker. Usually the bottom of the shadow is darker, that's what we think, but the water makes the bottom brighter because the light is jumping up. And then you can also add some black, just a little bit. And darken the top of the shadow. Just like that. And I'm adding a little bit of dark, heavy black at the end because that's where the tails are. And the tail feathers are very dark. Okay, with the white now, let's blend the top edge of the shadow. So right now we just, oh, that's weird color. We just shaded in this part, right? The darkest shadow on the bottom. Now on top, there's this thin line, that's the back of the bird. The feathers, the wings are folding. And there's a line at the very top. before we do that line, let's blend the shadow a little bit more so it's a smooth transition. So take your white and kind of scrub at the edges of the shadow. Do you see what I'm trying to do? Just at the edge. So it feels a bit smoother. And then on top, take your brown again, and we're going to add that line. Like that. So you want to have the bottom edge pretty sharp. And then the top is blended out. For that one, you can use white to blend. Okay, and then do the same thing for the other bird. Okay, now for the neck. So the necks and the heads is just black and white. I'm going to come in with the black first. And draw in the neck. It's okay if it's a little bit fuzzy around the edges. It still looks like a goose. Okay, so the birds are done. You can always come back and add more detail later. But now let's move on to the rocks. So down here, not much really that we can do to make them more interesting, but I'm going to start with black. And do you see these very dark, kind of like crevices? These are holes. Call these ambient occlusion spots. So this is where no light is reaching. So it's very dark. I'm going to use the black and just go over my sketch in these darkest areas. So this one will be kind of this corner. And especially where the rocks meet, this intersection. It's going to be very dark. And then later we'll blend everything out using either a gray or a white or a peach. So gray, white, and peach are my favorite blending colors. And just like that, you can also now take your white and blend the black so it turns into a gray. And just kind of spread it around using the white. Now for these very dark shadows, I'm not blending the black, but I'm pushing the black into the gray like this. Okay, and this is the last step of the project. You're going to get a few colors for the water. So we've never really drawn water using oil pastels before, and it looks a little bit hard, but it's actually quite fun. So you're going to get blue, obviously, and then peach. Mine is too small, so I'm gonna like here's peach. And then your light green. And then we'll figure the other ones out later. But these three are our main colors. Let's move this out of the way a little bit. Okay, so we're going to start by first adding the base color. So imagine the water without all this white stuff, the reflections and the ripples in the water. Imagine just the water's color. The top looks a little bit more blue. Like this, the top looks a little bit more blue. And then as you get closer to the edge of the water, it becomes more gray and warmer. So let's start at the top. I'm going to take the blue and just swipe it across. If yours does not, if you don't have a pastel like this, just peel it open, like peel the wrapper off, because it will save you a lot of time if you can just drag it on its side. I'm going to go all the way to the edge. And you're going to cover all of this white area with a thin layer of blue. And when you're going around the bird, be a little bit careful. And I'm going to make the top, just maybe the top third, this area, more blue. So go over it with another layer. and then kind of soften the edge. You see how it's very sharp and a very swift change. Going to try to make that line disappear. Okay, now it is time for the green. So if you're light green, it works as well. If you don't have a light green, yellow is also an option because yellow and blue makes green. You just have to use it less yellow. Okay, now the green goes in the middle. So around here, but not too much, just a little bit of green. You can see that very small change. Okay, and then the last is the peach color. The peach color will go at the very bottom. Okay, the next step is to start blending out these little gaps in the water. So I'm going to start from the bottom and work up this time. For all the holes at the bottom, I'm going to use peach. So now I'm just pressing hard and blending the gaps together. So that so it smooths out and you don't get the little white bits. And I'm not going to blend all the way, but almost to the top with the peach color. But at the very top, you're going to blend using blue. So this is blue, starting from the top, and then going down and meet the peach in the middle. Like that. And you don't have to blend every white part out. You can leave some of them in, and they might also look like the highlights in the water. So now the base for the water is done. Make sure you also let your hands take a break from that, because you don't want to press too hard for too long. Your hands will cramp up. Okay. So let's move on to the next few steps, which is the details. Right now, look at the geese. They look like they're floating, but almost not like they're real. It's because they don't have a shadow in the water. So we're going to add a shadow for the geese. So using black, you're going to take the edge of it. Hold on, give me a second. I'm going to peel back some of the paper because there we go. So with the black, just going to add a line of shadow and then kind of give it the shadow a weird distorted shape. So it's kind of like a zigzag. And of course, if you look at the photo again, you can see that there's also a shadow for the neck. It's reflecting in the water, not a shadow, but the goose, its reflection is being shown in the water. So remember to give it a little bit of a wiggly, squiggly neck in its reflection as well. And then do the same for the other goose. If you are done with the shadow, we're going to move into the bright highlights, the reflections in the water. So this is going to be one of the challenging parts. You're going to take your white and make some wave shapes in the water. And I'll show you what some of those shapes will look like. It's just lines, but they're really random and they go back and forth. I'm going to press a little bit harder so you can see, but for you guys, press a little bit lighter. So just kind of lines that and you can use the photograph as a reference. Basically, what I'm looking at in the picture are these shapes. And they're all connected and they're everywhere. It's like a pattern, but every pattern is different. The best way I can describe it is there's different leaf shapes, but they're all like dried and wrinkly, like tea leaves. They're all connected like a puzzle piece. And what's happening is that the water is reflecting the sunlight. And because the water is moving, the light looks bent. To help better visualize what I'm doing right now. So, for example, don't copy this, but on this side is what I'm doing. It's a little bit hard to explain. You get it right. It's kind of like the tops of the waves are meeting each other. And then the next step that I will do is I don't really like the sharp edges in between, so I'm going to round it out. So the waves look more like bubbles. Like that. So this is the pattern of the white, but on this one, it's a little bit harder to see. So hopefully this helps a little bit. And same as landscapes, the ripples in the water get smaller and smaller out into the distance. If you might have noticed, I'm not pressing hard everywhere. The hardest I'm pressing is mostly in the middle because I like the effect of, um, the idea is that the sunlight is only making one part of the water really bright. If I made it all very white, it feels like the sun is everywhere, but I want my sun to be coming around this top right area. So that's why only these ripples in this column are very bright. So compared to this one, you can't really see anything on this side, but the ripples near the middle are the brightest. And just like in the photograph, there are some of these very bright dots. These are the brightest highlights of all. And you can try to do that. I don't know, mine doesn't really work very well, but you can try and just press and leave a little dot, the pastel, like that. So the water looks sparkly. And the last little bit I'm going to try is I'm going to try darkening some of these ripples. So there's also shadows as well when the waves form. Let's see what happens if I use a blue and just darken one of these cells near the top. Doesn't make that much of a difference. Kind of. So what I'm doing is I'm darkening and increasing the contrast, which is to make the white part more visible. So imagine if this was the white ripple. I'm just shading around the edges, not really the inside, just the edge, and darkening the top. So I'll show you again on this side. Kind of like that. I'm sorry you can hear my dog in the back. He's barking right now. There's really not much left, but for extra details, the water is done, but I do want to make the geese look a bit more, to have a little bit more contrast and to fit better into the environment. So I'm going to try using a blue. And if you remember the cow from last week, we used the green to show the reflection of the grass onto the cow's body. We can use blue to show the reflection of the water on the goose's body. So using my blue, just at the very bottom, add a little bit of it. So this way it looks like it's actually in the water. Do you see the difference? It's very subtle, but this one looks like it was photoshopped. The blue helps it blend into the environment better. Then over here, just on the bottom, because that's where the blue light is coming from. I also forgot to blend this part, so it looks a bit empty. I use a white. And I feel like the cheeks are also too bright. So I'm going to take the white and try my best not to make it too dark. But I'm using the white and picking up some of the black and moving it into the cheek so it looks gray instead of white. So it's not too bright and looks fake. This is just an extra step. You can also take some black and bring back the details in the feathers. So if I zoom in, maybe on this one, you can see there's that pattern I was talking about. You can try, I don't know how it would look, add some curved lines at the top. Just to give the bird a little bit more of a texture. But yeah, I think we're pretty much done. So hopefully this was interesting and different. I thought we were going to go over time, but